minimizing charisma, maximizing intelligence, shooting someone in the crotch with a cannonball, thrust, propulsion. It's science-y.
Why you always gotta be blowing my spot up like that? There are my runes. There they are. I'm not mad. Science needs art and art needs science. They both need each other to function properly.
There are ways to figure out what the paper is really saying.
And then I'm ready to get on Twitter and yell at people about doing their own research on...
Oh, hold on there, sports fan.
Kyle Hill, everybody! He's the next generation of science communicator. I'm gonna be too old at a certain point to do those terrible things to my body, and it'll be up to you.
He's got like a lion's mane. This guy's amazing. Kyle Hill.
I'm Boo Rambo.
The universe is indifferent to you. Whether or not you have amazing hair, the universe doesn't care.
How are trees pushing past this pressure limit? Ah! Behold, my balls. Now we're getting somewhere, but I still don't think it's worthy of G.R.R. Martin's suspender.
I'm totally right? Close up photos of my frickin' hair? Is that what you all want? No, you don't, weirdos.
Kyle Hill. Is your last name actually Hemsworth? What's going on?
Our resident Thor lookalike?
I prefer Black Friday Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, you know, if you need a haircut... No, of course not! We're not gonna send sharks with frickin' laser beams on their heads to an asteroid. We're gonna nuke it. You don't need Bruce Willis at all. Wrenched. Oh! Headshot! Oh! Kevin, turn on the monitor. Kevin, this transition better work. The blast doors can't... Kevin, turn it on. Kevin, call me. Kevin, yeah. What's going on? They what? Yeah, no. Turn the music down. Yeah, no, the plan's working perfectly. What I've been doing is I've been tasking my nieces and nephews to start making little paper mache mummies. Yeah, they look really stupid. They're like really tiny and desiccated. Anyway, so I've been asking my nieces and nephews to make tiny little mummies, and I've been surreptitiously giving them to conspiracy theorists and ufologists all around the world. What? They showed one in Mexico to the Mexican Congress as evidence. Oh, no, they did not. They did. That's crazy. They gave one an MRI? Why? It's gonna be so funny when they figure out they're just actually cake. What's that? Oh, yeah. I guess I am. Okay, I'll call you next week. Bye-bye. Chat, welcome to the return of office hours. Happy to have everybody here. Happy to have regulars and non-regulars alike. It's been a little while. It's mostly because I haven't had a good topic to talk about on office hours for a long time. And it wasn't worth my time. That's a triple. I'm quoting myself quoting. Haven't had a good reason to do office hours, but now we're back. Better than ever. What has brought me back, chat? What we are talking about today will be a story, of course, radioactive related, that France has banned the sale of iPhone 12s because they're too radioactive. And as I do in much of my work, I find the discrepancy between understanding and misunderstanding nuclear-related stuff can cause a lot of harm. Which, of course, I mention in our latest episode at the facility where we're raising money for Chernobyl's pup yachts. I believe we're already 50% of the way towards our goal. That's awesome. If you want to see some puppies and learn even more about nuclear stuff, check out that link at the top of the comment. What are the chances of you telling us your hair care routine? It says ill. Depends. Once I sell the channel and start my hair care company, maybe. But chat, I realized today also that in researching this topic, we might not have a whole hour's worth of stuff to talk about. And I don't think I've actually done like dedicated office hours on office hours. So if we finish talking about the phones a little bit early, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about today. Aaliyah or Aliyah, welcome. Mark, Spoon, DB, Capybara, Magnanimus, obviously one of Elon Musk's kids, welcome. Are you related to Chris Hemsworth? In SEO, yes. I can talk about iPhones for hours, says Cynic. Wow, you must be really fun at parties. I actually don't brush my hair. I wake up like this. Michelle, my bell, welcome. I want to talk about how amazing Starfield is. Yeah, this episode will be pretty short. So, do phones emit radioactive rays? We'll get into it. In fact, let's just get into it right now. Oh, and chat, I haven't been doing office hours in a long time, so I forget kind of how this works. If you want to talk to me, if you want to have your questions answered during office hours, of course you can put it in the chat without spamming, but you can also try Super Chat, as you can see, from Diamond Baron with the 10. Thank you, Diamond. I can't promise I'll get to all the Super Chats, but know that they all go towards the facility and our nerdy mission of educating, exploring, entertaining, and dodging. Dip, duck. Diamond Baron with the 10. Hey, Kyle, thank you so much for making all these videos. The history of nuclear energy and radiation. Looking forward to more. And finally setting the record straight on the fear surrounding it. That's the goal. That's the goal. Can I call you? No. What is a super chat? Is it when it's in full caps? Supernova, you're this close. You're a real person? No. I'm a highly curated sculpture of a science communicator that I present to the public. Okay, chat. So this is what we're talking about today. The iPhone emits too much radiation, and Apple must take it off the market, French agency says. I see a lot of places saying, this is actually, since it's the AP, it's doing better than most, saying it's radioactive. Just radiation. But a lot of places are saying iPhone's radioactive. And that's what we're getting at today. Van Twinblade with the 5. Thoughts on the buff mommy of Avernus in BG3? I think she's the best party member. You should see what Arya looks like now. Whew. Whew. Excuse me. So chat, why would you have a phone banned for breaking some sort of radiation limit? Well, first, we need to delineate what we mean between radiation and radioactive. I'm holding an iPhone right now. Am I safe? Oh, we'll see. Chat. Radiation, and yes, we're going this far back. We're going to the etymology of words, chat. Radiation means to emit light. Now, when you think of radiation in the form of things that other things that we cover on this channel, like nuclear disasters, you also have particles. But when this word was incepted, it just meant light. Most of the radiation that we will ever talk about is light. Everything on the electromagnetic spectrum is light. So from radio waves all the way to gamma rays, they are just photons of light with different energies, different frequencies. Would it be possible for a phone to emit enough radiation for it to be harmful? Says James Long. Yes. Wasn't a Russian dissident killed when he had polonium put in his phone or something like that? Liz, remember Liz with the 10. Alex is asking a question. Is it possible for a freaky man spider with 4 legs and spits venom with goo to exist? Probably not. So this just means emitting some portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Radio waves, microwaves, visible light, well, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet light, low X-ray, high X-ray, gamma. The car wash channel of northern Pennsylvania and Idaho. Thank you for the 5. But that's not what radioactive means. Radioactive was actually coined by Marie Curie. Perfect pronunciation. And her husband, combining radio or the Latin radius, ray, like a ray of light, and active. Actif. Now, so radioactivity literally means something decaying, capable of spontaneous nuclear decay, releasing ionizing emissions. Now, that is very specific. Bullwick with the 20. First super chats and starting a new job. Thanks for being here, Bullwick. Always appreciate you inside the facility. So keep that in mind, chat. Actually, I didn't know this off the top of my head, but I guess it makes sense. Well, I knew where it came from, but it is specifically ionizing emissions. So if something is not ionizing, and we'll get to what that means, then it is not radioactive. Okay? So when we talk about those two differences, excuse me. Boo. Wait. Can't hear myself think, Jen. So when we talk about those differences, we must talk about the differences in the electromagnetic spectrum. Like we said, no! Damn it. It starts all the way back here, the longest wavelength, radio waves, all the way to the highest wavelength, which is gamma rays. And you can see where everything falls in terms of energy, in terms of biological effect. Now, in the non-ionizing radiation, I know this looks like something that gets reprinted during your class that you can't really take notes on, right? In the non-ionizing radiation category, you have longer wavelengths, and these longer wavelengths have less energy. And in these longer wavelengths, you see radio, AM, FM, MRIs, and mobile phones. You can see the frequency in hertz, 1 megahertz. That means 1 million hertz. And then you get up to gigahertz, or oscillations per second. So 1 billion, 10 to the 9, oscillations per second. And now you know where 2G, 5G, all the Gs, the OGs, come from, right? 5G, the thing that made your grandfather and or grandmother go crazy, that's 5 gigahertz. So even when we get up into these gigahertz or billions of hertz range, we're still in microwave mobile phone area. Now that leads us to the only possible biological effect of this kind of radiation. Heating. Okay? So when radiation interacts with matter, that radiation gives that matter some amount of energy, whether it's fully absorbed or partially reflected, whatever. It's jiggly stuff hitting other jiggly stuff. Okay? You are made out of jiggly stuff, and it's jiggling a certain amount. That is your temperature. Now, if something, other jiggly stuff, touches your other jiggly stuff, some transfer of momentum will occur, and it will lose a little bit of jiggly, and you will gain a little bit of jiggly. This gain of jiggly is what we call temperature. Don't let some hoity-toity scientist tell you it's the average kinetic energy of some volume. Temperature is the amount of jiggly. Okay? For everyone saying 5G mobile phones means generation and stuff like that. No, we're still talking about inside the spectrum here, in the gigahertz spectrum, all the way up to, I think, 300 gigahertz. So like 5 more Gs may not directly mean 5 gigahertz, but it's still in the gigahertz range. That's what we're talking about. And it used to mean that, like 2.4 and see, 900 megahertz to 2.4 gigahertz. That was literally the range. It's a little bit different now because we're using different frequencies for different, don't worry about it, okay? So temperature is the amount of jiggly. Now, if you make something jiggle more, it gets hotter. And that is what this lower frequency radiation can do to your body. Okay? That is why sunlight makes you warm. When we get into visible light, when we get into visible light, we're talking about light, we're talking about photons of light with some amount of energy coming down, bouncing off your body and giving you a little bit of jiggly. Okay? Now, when we get higher, there is some change where the amount of jiggly is too much for your jiggly to handle. The jiggle imparted can literally remove pieces and parts of your nanoscopic structure, your atoms and molecules. And the more complicated those structures, the more susceptible they are to damage. Now, what we care about the most with respect to these very complicated, delicate structures is DNA. So when ionizing, when light with enough jiggle-jaggle comes in and knocks Red Rover style into your DNA, it can jiggle it so much that it breaks apart. Okay? So if it breaks apart, you now have molecular damage. Now, if your body is not able to repair that molecular damage, the body will most often tell the cell to destroy itself. It's called apoptosis. If the cell doesn't have enough damage to already die, like via necrosis. So this apoptosis, there's inflammation, blood gets sent to the site, it starts to hurt, cells die off, and this is what a sunburn is. Now, if we move from visible light and sunburn up into higher energy, now we're talking about sunburns inside of your body. Sunburns that can be so bad, so many cellular structures are damaged, that it increases the chances that when they are attempted to be repaired, they get out of control, they replicate too much, and it causes cancer. 5G goes up to about 30 gigahertz from expert Googling. See, I'm still talking about gigahertz, chat. Okay? We're still talking about gigahertz. We're not talking about terahertz or just come on, guys. I wasn't technically right, but I was spiritually right. Okay. So the higher end of radiation gives you a sunburn on the inside, and that can cause cancer. It's because this radiation can pass through your body or portions of your body because the wavelengths get so small, you can see here, they get to the same size as water molecules, atoms, and atomic nuclei. And so when you get that small, there's not as much stuff to get in your way. You can pass between larger structures. And you're only going to get stopped by the smaller stuff, like atomic nuclei. Now, when you get stopped by the atomic nuclei, that's when you can get damaged. Okay? Yes. Jiggly equals temperature, can equal sunburn, can equal cancer. Okay? So this ionizing radiation starts happening at about the ultraviolet radiation range. That's why people tell you, that's why the deep state tells you not to go outside when there's too much UVA and UVB. UVA and UVB is just ultraviolet radiation that is up here in the petahertz range. Okay? Yeah, Richard Feynman also was a fan of jiggly explanations. That's where I get it from. So, handsome science guy with long hair, is it okay to sleep with our phones? Aaliyah, first of all, you're down bad. Second of all, I'm getting there. Okay. So ionizing radiation starts in the petahertz range, or petahertz, or petajiggles, if you want. Notice how far away petahertz is from gigahertz, okay? We're not just talking about this graph anymore. Just by the numbers alone, we're starting at the 10 to the 15 hertz range, and we're going, let's say, maximum 10 to the 10 range for 30 gigahertz, right? So if you know how to do math, exponential math is actually easy. If we divide these two values, we just minus the exponents. So how much different is ionizing radiation than the radiation coming out of your phone? 15 minus 10, that's 5. 5 orders of magnitude is what class? 100,000. So the radiation coming out of your phone is 100,000 times less powerful than the kind of jiggle that would start to worry your jiggly stuff. Okay? So when new phones are made, this low amount of jiggle that can happen, this low amount of heating that comes from jiggle can happen. It's the same principle as a microwave. And you wouldn't want to be microwaving your face, right? That's what people are worrying about. And keep in mind here, since none of this is emitting ionizing radiation, it cannot be radioactive by definition. Take it up with Marie Curie. Ha, you can't. She died of radiation poisoning. So what are regulators worrying about? Well, first of all, they're misunderstanding what radioactive means. Second of all, they're worrying about SAR, or specific absorption rates. So your phone is regulated to have an SAR of X amount of energy per kilogram of body weight. So they don't want someone getting X amount of radio frequency energy per body weight, meaning that smaller people, children, teenagers would be more susceptible. But more susceptible to what? We talked about the only really even theoretically possible effect from your phone at the energy that it's putting out, what it's radiating, is heat. And heat doesn't make it very far through your body. If it's at the surface, absorbed by your tissues, remember, when we're talking about longer wavelengths, they have a harder time making it through small stuff like your skin, like your skin cells. And so it's going to stop at your skin. You hold a phone to your face, any heating effects are going to be localized to your ear. So then we ask the question, because even though the theoretical basis isn't really there, well, could some non-trivial amount of heating placed near your phone or your crotch where you hold your phone over many, many years increase the rate of something bad happening to you? That is a scientific question. That would be a scientific study, right? And you need to take it seriously. You do studies, like, for example, you follow one group of people for many years that have high cell phone use and one that doesn't. And then you compare their health outcomes. And guess what? We've done that. Just the American Cancer Society just reiterating what we already went over here. The radio frequency waves given off by cell phones don't have enough energy to directly damage DNA or to heat body tissues up significantly. Because of this, it's not clear how cell phones might be able to cause cancer. That is to say, there's no theoretical basis for this. Okay? But what do the actual studies say? This is a study in India, mobile phones and possible cancer risk. If you want to search for studies like this, I recommend watching our video on how to read a scientific study. But I also will say, whenever you're searching for some kind of sciencey term, put systematic review or meta-analysis. That will be studies of studies. And those will kind of be summaries of what the field currently thinks about a topic. And if we go down on this medical study and the systematic analysis, the conclusion: overall evaluations show that current evidence for a causal association, A causes B, between cancer and exposure to mobile phone radiation is weak and unconvincing. Okay? So when you have a large enough population, because 50% of people as they get older are going to get cancer, it's just it's a disease of old age, it will be very, very hard to find large effects, large signals in the noise, because you already have such a large signal. 50% of people are just going to get cancer randomly. You would have to have a huge effect, or a statistically significant effect, rather. And what we see is, so we don't have a theoretical basis and we don't see any signals in the noise yet. From cancer.gov, again, looking at many studies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 studies here. Has the incidence of brain and central nervous system cancers changed during the time cell phones have been used the most? No. This study, I like the Danish study. Where is it? Almost 400,000 people in this Danish cohort study, no association between cell phone use and the incidence of brain cancers, even among people who had been cell phone subscribers for 13 years. And we have basically everything else saying the same thing. So we don't have a theoretical basis, nor do we have an evidential basis, an empirical basis to base a claim about cell phones and cancer on. And so, why is France banning the iPhone 12? Well, apparently it has now an SAR above the regulatory limit to make sure people aren't being exposed to a higher level of radiation than is deemed safe. But again, what they're being subjected to, at most, if it happened, would be slightly more surface tissue heating, which we know has no effect or no statistically observable effect on cancer or any other significant health outcome. Crazy infinity with an on and on. Crazy amount of fundamental misunderstanding and misinformation, even by large, reputable outlets. Almost every comment on every post making up information. Thank you, Kyle, for putting some lot back in the chat. I believe the inverse square law should be taught in first grade. So, yes. So what if your iPhone... So why use SAR? It's just a regulatory limit. You wouldn't... So I get at the limit, you could imagine some phone or some device or some radio tower or antenna putting out enough RF that it would cause something more significant to happen. It won't cause cancer, but it could heat your gonads up while in your pocket, impacting fertility. Well, yeah, don't put anything that's significantly hot on your nuts. That's why you have nuts. Do you know why you have nuts, chat? Well, some of you, 95% of you, according to my demographics. It's because your internal organs to produce the sex cells need to be outside of your body, slightly lower than body heat. And that's why you have nuts. So don't put hot stuff on your nuts. It affects the ability to create those sex cells. So chat. That's what we mean. So when France wants to ban slightly above SAR iPhones, not only are they calling this radioactive and being wrong, not only are many outlets calling it radioactive and being wrong, banning the sale of an object that has no theoretical or evidentiary basis to cause harm doing what it's doing is only going to spread fear and distrust and a misunderstanding of how radiation works, right? If I was a public lawmaker and I understood radiation, I would fine them or whatever just because of they broke the limit that we made. But would I make a public statement of banning all these phones across an entire country and then putting out press releases about it? No, that is unnecessary. Remember, chat, even saying something like that is still a public health decision that they made. Right? Right. Is talking about Cherenkov radiation off limits? No. I saw Cherenkov radiation. A video coming in October, I got back from a nuclear power plant in Illinois, and I went into their spent fuel pool. I didn't go inside. They wouldn't let me swim in it. But I did see Cherenkov radiation with my own eyes, and it was very cool. Probably never going to see anything like that again. Hey Kyle, are you a closet Aussie? Yes. An iPhone with a nuclear reactor battery, pretty much endless battery life, says Daryl Smith. Well, if you live in any place that gets a significant amount of energy from nuclear reactors, then your iPhone is kind of powered by a nuclear reactor, right? Why is nuclear associated with green when Cherenkov radiation is blue? History lesson, chat. Well, of course, modern media has portrayed nuclear waste and nuclear things as glowing green. But why? It's because one of the two things that introduced the public to radiation was Undark, a paint that made a glow-in-the-dark green paint. And it was called Undark, and it's the tragedy of the Radium Girls is related to Undark. But they used radium, small amounts of radium, in a phosphorescent paint that it's the radiation from the radium, and radium is one of the most radioactive elements there is. The radiation would excite the paint molecules, and the paint molecules, in returning to their original state, would emit green light. So I would guess, if I was doing some sort of term paper on this, that the origin of the greenness of nuclear stuff comes from Undark, comes from the Radium Girls, and the radium was everywhere. It was the new thing. It was the new hotness. People were drinking radium solutions. And one of the men who espoused these radium drinks the most had horrible mouth cancers, and he died a horrible death. Now that, combined with the Radium Girls story, turned what was very positive public reception of nuclear stuff all the way down, and we're still on that downward slope. So I'd say the green comes from early radium acceptance, and the Radium Girls and radium clocks, watches, gun sights, all of those things. And then modern media just took that, and so in The Simpsons and in any video game, it's always green now, right? But I think it all goes back to Undark, if I had to guess. Chernobyl didn't help. Well, yeah, obviously not. I said we're still on the downward slope. But Chernobyl had nothing to do with the greenness of radiation. Nothing radioactive glows, chat. Nothing in its natural state glows. It's always like Undark. It's either Cherenkov radiation, which is produced by the water around old uranium fuel pellets. It's the paint around radium. It's something else. It's never the thing itself. Unless you have a crazy, unnatural source of radiation, like a particle accelerator. And if you fire a particle, well, even that isn't glowing. Yeah, as Daryl was saying, it's like ionizing the air. You know. Will you ever play Titanfall 2? I have. Yes, it's normally radioactively activated fluorescence. This is Philip. Yes. What about radioactive cesium? It doesn't glow. It's ionizing the air. So I guess it's kind of a glow. But it's not like whoa, like you've seen in the media. That's what I'm getting at. So radioactive is a bad word to use. What happens the iPhone 12? Then what is the prognosis? Yes. What about the sun? What about the sun? The sun isn't radioactive. The sun is fusing hydrogen and helium together, and part of that energy release is photons of visible light. When is the next trip to Pripyat? Hopefully soon. What about tritium? What about it? That's radioactive water. Or 99% of tritium is in the form of radioactive water. So chat, we have now, obviously, give me that gaming with the 5, simping for science. Appreciate you. Are mushrooms radioactive? They can be radioactive, but that's not why they're glowing. That's bioluminescence. You're my son. No, I'm not. We've now entered into the office hours portion of today. You want to talk about anything? We can talk about whatever you want. Tritium doesn't look like anything, chat. It looks like water. While we're here, I should say 2 things. First of all, we have new merch. Why are you always frowning and why you always look so mean? We have new merch based on a study from the 1960s that tried to come up with different ways of warning people away from nuclear waste repositories. And we turned that into millennial/metal style merch. I think it's our best merch ever. I love it. I wear the shirts almost every day because I make sure that they're all tri-blends, super comfy, super soft. That's shop.kylehill.net. Also, if you're going to MTG or Magic Con Las Vegas this weekend, I will be there stomping newbies and pros alike in Commander. Would you drink heavy water? We do drink heavy water. Drinking water has a natural amount of tritium in it, just not enough. You can't really get tritium out of water. That's what we were talking about in the episode about Fukushima's water, which is our previous episode, if you haven't watched that and want to. Because tritium is basically just a water molecule. It's heavy water. We say it's heavy water because it has 2 extra neutrons instead of 0. So it's heavier because it has those neutrons. Deuterium has 1 extra neutron. Tritium has 2. But it's chemically identical to water. Your body uses it like water. And so to remove tritium from large amounts of water would be the same thing as removing all that water. So it gets diluted and treated to a point where it's safe to imbibe. It decays relatively fast. It does. And it's excreted through the body like water. Any update on the Fukushima water dump? No. Japan started releasing radioactive water back into the ocean. We have an entire 20-minute video on it if you want to check it out. What about copium? See, that's a rare element that you can find on Twitch. Couldn't you centrifuge the heavy water? I would doubt that the mass difference isn't all that big. Is Jamie Heineman really as... What? I just see a black square. As his on-screen performance makes him out to be, or is he actually a cool dude? Jamie is a cool dude. But he's exactly what you think he is. Hey, Kyle, what's your social security number and date of birth? Aiden with the 5. Kyle, what's the dumbest science fact you know? Like dumb as in dumb fun or dumb stupid? Water is wet. Ryukachu with the 10. Kyle, if it's office hours, it's time for you to get your hands dirty and convert a classic car to electric on the channel for fun. What would you convert? Not a big car guy. Car Wash channel, thanks for the 5. I'm glad you found the Chernobyl videos useful and interesting. We will have more videos from my Japan trip. I already have planned out what the next 2 videos in the 3-part series are going to be, but coming up on the facility later this week, I forced myself to do a video about the recent surge in evidence for UFOs and UAPs. We'll have a whole episode on that. And then I just finished writing... What the hell did I just finish writing? An episode tangentially related to Starfield and the physics of space stuff. Alex, thank you for donating to the puppies. How do they measure the level of the iPhone radiation to deem them higher than safe? Says Olivier Laborde. You just have anything that can detect RF. Kyle has big Renaissance Fair energy, says Justin Funk. I love the Ren Fair, Justin. I love it. I went 4 times this year. Endermania. Kyle, do you like RBMK reactors? No. So I know you know this, Endermania, but the RBMK reactor are those flawed Soviet reactors. One of them blew up in reactor number 4, at reactor number 4 in Chernobyl, because they had a positive void coefficient. Now, you may know what that means if you watched the miniseries, which they had a good scene about explaining all that science stuff. But a positive void coefficient in a boiling water reactor, in a water-based reactor, a reactor that has water in and around the fuel and the control rods, usually you want to have water as a moderator. The water slows down the fast neutrons coming out of the uranium, slows it down to a point where they can interact with the other fuel rods and continue on the chain reaction. And if the water starts to get too hot, the reaction starts to get out of control, the water boils away, and then you don't have that moderator anymore, and the reactor starts to die, or the reactivity goes down. But at Chernobyl in the RBMK, they used a different moderating system, and so they had a positive void coefficient, so that when they got steam bubbles, voids, when the water started to boil away, the reactivity went up instead of down. And when that went up, then all of the water evaporated away, which means no cooling, which means meltdown, which means reacting with the air, hydrogen, explosion. You know what it means. Dark Jester with the 2. Kyle, have you ever been to 3 Mile Island? No, but it is on my list. I have now been to the sites of the 2 out of the 3 biggest nuclear reactor disasters. I've been, and the first 2 are arguably the hardest to do, so we're doing good. Been to Chernobyl for a week, went to Fukushima for 10 days. Now it should be easy enough to visit 3 Mile Island, and then I will have checked that all off on my list because I felt like it. Freddie Otaniel Espinosa with the 5. Why does looking at the sun stimulate sneezing? Because I think the nerves are close. How long do you need to be in front of a transmitting 5G antenna in order to heat tissue? Says Molly Elizabeth. I don't know. I would guess that you're at a distance from a 5G antenna such that that will never be an issue. Now, I would have to do the math and know the specifics, but I like a high energy transmitting radio antenna. I wouldn't put my nuts next to, or like sit my face on it for 2 days. But living next to one, just with the inverse square law and how radiation goes out and disperses and becomes less concentrated, I wouldn't think it'd be an issue. Kyle, I've been growing my hair out since 2004. Is great scalp health detrimental to healthy hair? Why would it be? No. So when I was in high school, there was all these hippies that were like, yeah, it's better to never wash your hair. After 6 months, you just have all these natural oils and all that, and it's just better. No. Hair is dead. Hair comes from within. Hair is like a protein Play-Doh squeezed out of the follicles on top of your head. So first and foremost, hair health is going to come from health. Make sure you're getting all your vitamins and nutrients, eating healthy, all that kind of stuff. Afterwards, use good products, use good shampoo and good conditioner, put some argan oil in there, and it's going to look way better. The same guys who are like, dude, never wash your hair, it's great. Usually, they smell terrible. And their hair looks like they're playing in a high school rock band. Stinky. "5G means 5th generation." Oh my God. We don't have to go through that again. I know 5G doesn't mean gigahertz, but Everything before it, like 2 gig, 2.4 G, 3, that it was also within the band that was gigahertz. Damn it. No, like I was saying, use of product should be common sense. There needs to be a masculinification of hair care. You'll see, you don't get hair that looks like mine unless you use good shampoo, good conditioner, you blow dry, you use oils, you go to salons to get your hair cut and updated and ends trimmed off and all that stuff. Guys, if you want to look like me, you gotta stop looking like your high school yearbook picture. Stop being so, oh, but that's girl stuff. Yeah, why do you think girls have better hair than you? And you look terrible. Also, your broccoli haircut. Logan Wood with the $9.99. I'm an electrical engineer in Iowa for a manufacturer of electrical safety equipment. Here we're getting involved. Here we're getting 5 reactors within the next 15 years. I'll have to figure out how to get involved. Nice. My fallback plan is to work at a nuclear power plant. Well, first fallback plan is to move into the woods, into a bunker, into a nuclear missile silo that I refurbish. Then once I lose all my money in crypto, then I'll have to go back work somewhere. Damascus Titan missile explosion, says Dominic. I'll look into it. Top 10 most edible looking hair. Look, I know I'm sounding like an old man, but I just don't like the thigh high short black shorts with the loafers, with the giant oversized crew neck, with the broccoli hair, with the gold chain. I just don't like the look. So what frequency is 5G at if it's not 5 gigahertz? Damn it! Guys, do you have a video about the Goiânia nuclear accident? Says Stan Monta. Yes, I do. Look it up on the main channel. Yes, it means 5th generation. It's here. In the G's, in the gigahertz. Okay, I know it doesn't mean 5 gigahertz, all right? Damn it. I was wrong. But I might as well be right because it's within the same range. Man. Why is there Batman shampoo but no conditioner Gordon? How do you take your coffee, Kyle? Black. Always black. It's 5 gigahertz if you're talking about Wi-Fi 5G. Oh, is it? 5 Gs, 5 fingers, 5 points to a pentagram? Coincidence? Yes. Yes, it is. Thoughts on the supposed aliens found in Mexico? Says Anticore. They didn't find aliens in Mexico. Those are paper mache dummies. Or mummified children? The guy who presented those Mexican aliens already had one of his things debunked. Where I forget what he was trying to pass off as alien mummies. Let me see. Oh, it's possibly a criminal stunt. This guy has made similar claim. See, chat? Look how you gotta take care. Puppy! It's a stunt, chat. I'm sorry on behalf of all Mexico. It's alright, I know it's not your fault. Why is it giving me shampoo ads? It's because I just mentioned it, isn't it, chat? What's listening to me? Kevin, run a search. This is the first office hour since the new merch drop. That's true. We have new merch on the channel. That's shop.kylehill.net. What's going on in the subreddit, chat? What is this thing? It's a heavy egg-shaped item, probably 60 pounds. That is a lead pig for transporting radioactive materials. Don't... Just stay away from it. Don't go near those. Kyle, favorite video game of all time? Ready, go. In terms of like nostalgia, probably Final Fantasy X. In terms of technical quality and acting and writing and gameplay, probably Last of Us Part 1. Who's that guy? Eat somewhere else. Kyle, this is Lubo in China. Could you safely use nuclear missiles to clear minefields? Could there ever be such a thing as a clean nuke? Yeah, we've looked into clean nukes as a way to, geoengineer and move mountains, so to speak, and those kind of things. But clearing a minefield means detonating something near the surface level, I think, as you're imagining it, like blowing up a large swath of land, but that creates the most fallout, and so you would not want that. What is he doing? Look at this satisfied customer, chat. Yeah, they're very comfortable t-shirts. Very comfortable t-shirts. I make sure. Jonathan Martin says, you're awesome. I could take me or leave me, to be honest. It would be great to make a hydrogen bomb without having to use a fission bomb to initiate it. That would be great. Nuclear weapons are a mistake, chat. They're even more of a mistake than social media. Kyle, have you heard of the radiological accident in San Salvador? No, I'd have to look up. What's your favorite Half-Life story episode? It's a supernova. In terms of the one I'm most proud of, I don't know. We have another Half-Life history coming up that's not from Japan that I had written a number of weeks ago. I was really proud of how I wrote the Fukushima Epidemic of Ghosts episode and how we got some voice actors at the end of it, and I think that one was really well done and well written, if I do say so myself. Recently got into Magic, and I really like the commander matches with you and Boxy. It's like a battle to see who has better hair. Well, I do have better hair than her, clearly. But speaking of commander, I think I'll be playing some matches on stream with Dr. Lupo pretty soon. He just got into it. Kyle, don't read this. It's... Oh, okay. I would say the 3 Mile Island one was the most informative. This is Hamstray. Well, 36 minutes on a what was a PR disaster and not a nuclear one is pretty all encapsulating. Shut up. Oh, that was Michael Stevens. I'm stalling now, chat. If there's anything else you want to talk about during today's office hours, let's do it. Look, we have this pulled up. Story that shook me the most was the deadly software error story. This is Christine. Yeah, that's a crazy one. I mean, it should be mentioned that even with the Therac-25 killing a couple of people, nuclear medicine has been one of the most successful medicines, period. Just linear particle accelerators treating cancer, et cetera, is used all over the world by millions and millions of people. It has been a incredible advancement and positive. What are your thoughts on the Doctor Who secret lair? I'm not a Doctor Who guy, so I don't really care. What is something you wish the public knew about radiation? People have an intuitive physics about simple things. Like if I take my hair tie, even babies will know that, if I throw something, it's going to do something like that. It's not going to fly up into the sky or anything. If it did, that'd be crazy. See, it comes back down. So we have an intuitive physics about that. We don't have an intuitive physics about radiation because we didn't evolve to sense it other than visible light. And so it's this invisible thing that we know that can harm us. So it's inherently very scary to us because it's very unknown. You can't see it, and it can, do terrible things. What I wish people knew is, and what I guess I haven't gotten at too much in the episodes, but the things that we're able to do with nuclear energy and sources of radiation are so incredible and move around everywhere all the time with no incidents ever. And this history is pockmarked by some very alluring and interesting incidents that have turned everyone against nuclear anything. So, for example, when I got back from that nuclear power plant in Illinois, which we'll have a video on, when I was looking at the dry cask storage, they had mentioned that there hasn't been a single recorded leak, because nuclear waste is not liquid, from any dry cask storage anywhere in the United States ever. But why aren't people more concerned about viruses? You can't see those. Well, they should be more concerned about viruses. Do you climb outside? Not really. Just, I'm a kind of a gym rat. I haven't been getting back into it, though. You can tell by the calluses on my hands. Thoughts on Homer Simpson and his work with nuclear energy? He's the worst ever. My 9-year-old loves information on nukes and nuclear energy. Do you have any recommendations to help nurture his love or obsession with nuclear energy? I mean, the Half-Life History series is okay. I might be a little bit technical for a 9-year-old. I would look up some... Oh, I know. Look up Los Alamos from Below. It is a lecture that Richard Feynman gave after World War II, talking about when he was a young man, like 20-something years old, working on the Manhattan Project. And there's a lot of interesting, fun stories in that just 1-hour video. Thanks for being here, Jason, with the 5, of course. Yeah, so generally, chat, even though I make a lot of videos about it, I think what comes through with nuclear disasters and accidents is that they are not the norm. They're usually completely isolated cases where harm was done, but not enough harm to garner the negative reputation that nuclear stuff has. I mean, think of fossil fuel related disasters and how many people they have affected. Do you know how many people died immediately after the Chernobyl disaster? Like when it exploded in the first 1 or 2 days after, or would go on to die? 30. A couple thousand people die across China every day related to the pollution in the air from fossil fuels. A couple thousand people in China every day. Every day. Yes, Endermania knows the exact number, 31. Do you know how many people died as a direct result of Fukushima? As a direct result of 3 Mile Island. So you need to keep the perspective, the relative risk in perspective. No, the absolute risk, sorry. The relative risk is relative, but the absolute risk of nuclear anything is it's next to, in terms of like danger and deaths occupationally, nuclear power, for example, is like here's wind and here's solar, and it's like here. And then coal's like up here. Who's a better climber, you or Zyla? Speaking of Zyla Fox Lynn, my climbing partner, I'm better, but she's very good. She's very good. She hasn't been climbing all that much, and she's already doing like V5, and she climbs outside a lot. She's really good. I'm nowhere near as good as I used to be before I got injured and before I got old and heavy. I used to be climbing up in the double digits, but not anymore. My body. I heard Jimmy Carter helped stop a nuclear disaster in northern Ontario here in Canada. He helped clean up a nuclear disaster after it happened. What grade do you climb? At my strongest, I was like a couple of weeks before I snapped another one of my pulleys in one of my fingers. I flashed a V10. So I was like pretty high up there, getting near like professionally level strong. But not anymore, chat. Too heavy, too weak. My fingers can't take it anymore. But I still do it, because otherwise I'd just be sitting here in my chair talking to you nerds. Is the Joker any good at rock climbing, says Devin Jami? Yeah, Jared Leto climbs in my gym sometimes, and he's actually quite good. I mean, he's not like amazingly strong, but he's stronger than I think a movie star would be. Bro, stop snapping tendons. No. I could only climb V4 or V5. That's usually the strength plateau for most people. After that, you kind of have to train. Nuclear professional here, says the Game Doctor, and the impact of a very few instances of catastrophic failures over an entire lifetime of the nuclear industry is a constant focus due to long-term damage perception. It's true. Chat, in the video at the top of the chat about Chernobyl's puppies, I uncovered a statistic that I never heard before, and it is terrible, and I will relay it to you now as a way to end your day. But the largest observable health effect on the unborn after Chernobyl was birth rates declining in Switzerland and Italy after the explosion in 1986. Was that the result of radiation and miscarriages and birth defects? No. Actually, the birth rate went down so much because the public all the way over in Switzerland and Italy, nowhere near Ukraine, were so misinformed about the danger to them and so afraid of what had happened countries away that mothers in mass started electively aborting their children to spare them from it. This happened so many times, the birth rate went down and is the single largest health effect on the unborn from Chernobyl. Fear. Stress. It has been argued, and it has been more or less proven in studies, that the deleterious mental health effects of Chernobyl and Fukushima are the single largest effects of any of these disasters. People forced evacuations, social isolation, depression, suicide, substance abuse, all of these things in the face of, well, Didn't have to be that way. Please stop saying Chernobyl. It's Chornobyl, as that's how it's spelled in Ukrainian. Yes, I know. Drew. But if I started saying Chornobyl, more people than you would be confused. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so the fear of Fukushima and Chernobyl and all these other places that I've spent weeks of my life in, that's the single largest health effect of any of these areas. Chat! We're already over time because I like you. I was really confused when Western news started calling Kiev. Yes, Booney. The capital of Ukraine is Kyiv because that's how they say it in Ukraine. But everyone knows it outside of Ukraine as Kiev. Like, you know, if you ate chicken Kiev as a kid or something like that. So that does get confusing even though it is technically accurate. I just got here, says Count Brenberg, champion of the werewolf hordes. Hadouken? Okay. Hi, Kyle. Bye, Kyle. Nice. I'll take one more thing during office hours while I drink from my new This Is Not a Place of Honor mug. Any thoughts on the Armored Core franchise? I have never played a single game, so I can't say. What's your take on depleted uranium ammunition? Depleted uranium ammunition is not because it's radioactive. The ability of one thing to penetrate another, giggity, is directly proportional to the ratio of the densities of those things. So something more dense will have an easier time and penetrate further into something less dense when it's going sufficiently fast. And that's just because it is a function of momentum and mass and the air and the volume. So more dense thing will penetrate less dense thing. So as armor gets better on tanks and on people, depleted uranium is one of the densest elements that there is. Yeah, look how long my beard's getting. It's disgusting. I look like a wizard. Uranium is one of the densest elements that there is. So in using it in ammunition, it starts to be able to penetrate more easily the armor that is used on a modern battlefield. Have you worn a TLD? I don't know what that is. So it's not used as a radiation weapon. It's used because of the density. And it's not always used because denser stuff is heavier, obviously, which costs weight if you're carrying it around, which costs fuel if you're moving it around, harder to transport across supply lines, etc., etc., etc. Osmium rounds, well, that would just be too expensive. Depleted uranium you could get from nuclear power plants. I think it is. I don't know off the top of my head. Depleted uranium still might be slightly radioactive, right? I blame Chernobyl's deaths on communism, not nuclear science. Well, yeah, I mean, the Soviet Union had rushed out fundamentally flawed nuclear reactors. It's not the nuclear thing that caused the accident. It's not a fundamental inability to control nuclear reactions. We do that all over the world every day safely. It was Soviet yes men doing a dangerous safety test in the middle of the night with no approval on a flawed reactor. If you watch our Half-Life series, every single disaster is basically human error. It's not the you can't mess with uranium, it will always kill everyone. No. Kyle, your Karn deck is OP, says Ben Inc. It's colorless. It's not OP, but it's extremely strong. It's the best colorless deck, in my opinion. If you're in Vegas, I will play it against you this weekend. I just made a new Magic deck too, Ob Nixilis, Captive Kingpin, that I really like. But it's not my go-to. Dr. Lupo was showing me his new deck. He got a sliver deck, all blinged out. It's like, finally, another YouTuber that understands how much money we can spend on magic cards. Depleted uranium is the byproduct of the enrichment process. It's the stuff that's depleted in the process, not waste. Got it. Yeah, so yeah. Okay. So it's not, you can't get it from nuclear waste. See, I didn't know that. I learned something today. Thank you, Tactical. We have a military and veterans channel in the Discord. That's interesting. Confusion aside, I'd still use the more widely known pronunciation of Chernobyl because of whose fault it was. Yes, Chernobyl. I agree. I'm just telling you, in SEO, in public communication, people will get confused. That's all. Kyle makes lose all your friends decks. Well, the people I play with are my employees, so they can't get rid of me. But I do play very mean decks because I love winning. I just played a game of Commander with the Professor, and that will come out in the next couple of weeks on his channel. I've won 7 out of my 8 last appearances on other people's channels. Maybe the decks are a little bit strong. Maybe they're a little bit strong. Okay, I get it. You just sound angry saying Chernobyl like that. Any update on the dogs of Chernobyl, says Dylan. Dylan, I have good news. Click the link at the top, like I just did. Let's see. We have now raised $23,000 for the Dogs of Chernobyl program by the Clean Futures Fund, which means we have raised almost $90,000 so far. I want to get to 100, and then I will add to my Chernobyl mural arm sleeve tattoo. What are you talking about? Oh, I got a lot, chat. Am I going to show you? No. That's private. I'm new here. What's the Dogs of Chernobyl, says Soren. I'm the social media ambassador for the Dogs of Chernobyl program. After I went to Ukraine, after I visited Chernobyl and made a bunch of videos on it, I got enamored with the dogs. The dogs are taken care of, spayed, neutered, fed, vaccinated, all that kind of stuff by the Clean Futures Fund. One of the Clean Futures Fund people led me through Chernobyl in the first place, so now we raise money for them. How do we help change the perception of nuclear energy? Don't worry, I'm on it. I think changing the perception of nuclear energy is going to come down to getting at those pain points that people have. So one of the biggest pain points that I've identified is nuclear waste. People are terrified of it, even though it is literally the safest waste there is in terms of energy production. And so that's why I went to Illinois, worked with the government, the Department of Energy, the Department of Nuclear Power, the deep state. And I went inside a working nuclear power plant, and I saw their dry cast storage. I touched it. I may or may not have kissed it to prove a point, and that is probably going to be the title of the video. I also saw the spent fuel pools with my own eyes, saw the Cherenkov radiation. We'll make a video about that, at least one video, and that is another one of my attempts to dispel or address another pain point when it comes to nuclear power. I know, Werns, I'm triggering you. Nuclear waste taste test when? Kyle needs a girlfriend, says Mass Legend. Oh. Okay. Oh. Cherenkov radiation must look beautiful in person. Yeah, it really is. It really is cool. I think did I show you guys? I showed facility members that on our last private live stream last month. I think I did. Oh, sweet summer chat. No, Red, I don't have any videos on thorium reactors. I'm asked about it all the time, which means I should probably make a video about it, but I haven't yet. Yeah, Alien Prophet saying it did look very cool. It did. Could fear mongering surrounding nuclear energy come from companies working against it? Definitely. Kyle, socialism or capitalism? ¿Por qué no los dos? Make a nuclear themed commander deck. Says Ben Inc. I have thought about that. I don't know what it would be. What else do you show on the private live stream? Okay, all right. Are they overhyped? Yes. I don't know what you're talking about, but yes. More videos. I know, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, chat. We went over time because I know I haven't talked to you in a long time. But I'm happy to have all of you here. I hope you learned something today. I learned something today. What did I learn? I learned about depleted nuclear rounds and where you actually get them. Chat, this week, if you need more science, we'll be doing a video about the recent new evidence of UFO and UFAPs, UFAO-FAPs. I'll be going to Vegas. I'll see you in Vegas. If you want to play some Magic the Gathering, I'll be there. Following week, what do we got? Maybe something tangentially Starfield related, some physics, space battle-y kind of stuff. And then to come, more nuclear stuff, more Half-Life histories, more stories from Fukushima. Happy to have everyone here. Happy to see so many regulars and so many new people. Of course, if you want to continue on this conversation after I end the stream, you can go down into the comments below. You can like the video, sub to the Chan, or you can join the facility at patreon.com/Kyle Hill, or join via the membership button down there. Do so. You get access to the private Discord, the friendliest, nerdiest Discord around, I'm told. Everybody knows it. I'm told. I hear things. But I'll see you there. And then I think maybe since the new update for Cyberpunk 2077 comes out on Thursday, we might play that on the gaming channel because now the game is good and I enjoy it. So thanks everyone for being here. Thank you for being here for an extended period of time, no matter where I see you next time, next live stream, next video, next gaming channel video, on someone else's channel, on your social media feeds that you should probably delete. Until then, have a great rest of your evening or morning or midsummer night's afternoon. And be nice to each other, especially online. Holy Chrysler. Because this is all we got. See you soon.